So let's talk about something called Subaru Starlink. This is Subaru's connected services. It gives you the ability to have both some additional safety features as well as some convenience features. As an example, in terms of safety, you may notice that your Subaru has two buttons up here near the dome lights. This SOS button can be pressed for emergency assistance. It's going to call out to a live Subaru representative. Oh, and by the way, if you're involved in an accident, you don't have to click any buttons here. There are sensors all around the car that will automatically notify Subaru when you've been involved in an accident, and they can then send out emergency services to you. You have a blue button for information, so this is just for non-emergency stuff, as well as a concierge service. You can get that as well through Subaru Starlink. But it's not just safety features with Subaru Starlink connected services. You also have the ability to connect to your car directly from your phone using the My Subaru app. The My Subaru app gives you the ability to remotely start and stop the car, gives you the ability to remotely adjust your climate controls, locate the car, even comes with vehicle immobilization from Subaru. So Subaru, not you, but Subaru can shut the car down if it's ever stolen. And this is important because you want to let your insurance company know that. If you have that Subaru Starlink subscription with those remote services, sometimes your insurance company might be a little more favorable on your rates because of that. So something to be aware of. And we'll talk about here in just a moment, comparing the remote start using the Subaru app versus using the remote start from your physical key fob and what your options are there. It is important to note that remote start is only going to be available on the vehicles that have the push button start with the keyless entry fob. If you have a regular key fob that looks like this, you unfortunately are going to have to get the separate remote start fob installed and programmed with this. We'll talk about that in some detail in just a moment. But with the My Subaru app and the Starlink subscription, you have three options. So on the left, you have the Safety Plus. That's going to be your SOS system here that we talked about in the beginning with the roadside and the collision alert. Number two, level 2 is going to be Security Plus. That's going to be, you'll see at the top, remote engine start with climate controls. That is the main thing that people are looking for with level 2, but you have a whole slew of other options you can see as you go down this list. Some of them we've already talked about, like remote lock and unlock, vehicle immobilization, vehicle locator, things like that. And then lastly, you have Subaru Starlink Concierge. That's going to be literally a concierge where you can have that live rep with that blue information button to book restaurants, hotels, even event tickets. So let's talk about cost. And that's something that comes up a lot with customers is, hey, I just bought a $40,000 vehicle and I got to pay for a subscription. And I understand the sentiment, but let me explain further because there's a lot more involved here that maybe you're not aware of, and to try to do as best of an equal comparison as possible, because I have many people who are just looking for remote start, so they compare this to the subscription cost of this, and they may not realize that it's not a direct comparison. There's more involved here. So let's talk about that. Let's unpack it. So we have the three different levels. Each Starlink plan builds off the next. So if you have the level 3, by default, you also have level 1 and level 2. If you have level 2, by default, you have 1 and 2. So it's important that if we're comparing the cost of Subaru Starlink Security Plus level 2, because we want that remote start, it's personally what I have, you also want to compare the cost of what it would be to get your roadside assistance elsewhere, maybe through AAA or through your auto insurance. So those are some things to be aware of, because that cost is really combining both of those. Also, it's hard to put a number on that accident alert. That's a big thing. If you're involved in an accident, having somebody get to you as quickly as possible without you having to pick up the phone and call is invaluable in my opinion. And the distinction to be made here is that the accident alert can only be added through Subaru Starlink. You can't get this through other services like AAA. So let's look at the cost, and you can pretty much ignore the monthly unless you just like spending more money. I don't think anybody does, so we're gonna ignore the monthly for this comparison because it's much lower to go with the annual, or I'll share with you some options on how you can get it up to 5 years depending on how you're buying your vehicle for a pretty significant discount. So let's talk about this. Level 1, if you just want the safety aspect, you just want that accident alert, and those types of features, it's $100 a year plus tax depending on where you live. If you're looking at maybe you want remote start, so remote start would be $150 a year plus tax. But remember, you've got with level 2 by default, you're also getting roadside assistance, which arguably if you're getting AAA or something like that, that could be like $100 alone in and of itself. So it's a good, I think, pretty good value there. And then level 3, if you get just 1 year of it, it's $200 a year. But let's talk about how you can get it for less. If you're buying a new Subaru, as I mentioned, I actually have the level 2, the Security Plus, because remote start was a big thing. And I did want the safety aspect as well, which is already included in that. So with a new car, you can get up to 5 years for $250 on your level 2, which is, I think, incredible. That's when you break it out annually. So $250 divided by 5 years is just $50 a year. Pretty low cost, in my opinion, to have both the roadside assistance, accident alert, and those remote start capabilities, especially right now when it's freezing cold out. So really huge value. Now, if you have a certified pre-owned car you're purchasing from a Subaru dealer, you do have some discounts. It's not quite as big as the new car, but instead of it being $150 per year, you can get, it's $100 for 1 year of that and the Safety Plus. Now, maybe you don't care about the level 2 at all. By default, with a new car purchase with Subaru, you get that Safety Plus, that level 1 for 3 years for free. If you're getting a certified pre-owned, you get 1 year for free of that Safety Plus. So those are some things to be aware of. So now that we know the cost of remote start using the Subaru Starlink and with the roadside assistance, let's compare the key fob installation, remote start, and roadside assistance. So here we have the push button start key fob. It's not going to have remote start enabled. You're going to have to purchase a separate fob that connects to this. It would dangle off the end of this and have it programmed. And most retailers are going to charge anywhere from about $700 to $750 between parts and labor. So pretty high upfront cost in comparison to the Starlink app. Now, the big pro to that, a lot of people bring up, well, I just pay for it once and I'm done with it. And that's true. But the downside is, well, there's quite a few downsides. We'll talk about it. One of them is recouping the cost of that. So if you were to go sell the car, unfortunately, most people are not going to pay you extra just because you have remote start on it. I mean, they may, but they're probably not going to give you an extra $700 just because you say, hey, I paid that for it and that's what I want for it. They're probably not going to do that. If you get involved in an accident, the car gets totaled. Good luck getting your $700 some odd dollars back out of that. With the remote start on the app, it's a subscription, but if you cancel it, you can cancel at any time. You would get a portion of your money back. You would get a prorated refund based on how much time you've had that subscription. So another benefit there is that you're not just out that money. You can cancel it at any time, so pretty low risk. With the key fob, there are range limitations. So this is only going to work within, I think it's up to 400 feet with those remote starts on the Subaru key fobs. With the app, it'll work anywhere. As long as you have cell phone service or Wi-Fi, it'll work anywhere. It's pretty impressive how easy it is. Also, just convenience. If you want to get remote start installed on your car with the fob, it's going to take a day or so for them to install it, maybe longer if parts are on back order. With the My Subaru app, with the Starlink, you're already going to have the capabilities. It's just going to be a matter of having it enabled, and it can even be done, it can be done remotely with your Subaru salesperson. That's who would set it up for you. If you want to try to compare apples to apples to your Starlink plan, you also want to consider your roadside assistance. So are you going to pay for AAA? Are you going to pay for it through your insurance? You know, those are some things to be aware of, because if you're paying for it through AAA, that's what I used to have, it was about $100 a year. So really, you got to start to think about those too. So there are a lot of different options to be aware of, but at least hopefully now you know a little bit more about what Subaru Starlink is, what options are available, what the cost is associated with it, and how you can compare that to other options like the physical key fob with remote start and getting maybe roadside assistance outside of Subaru. I hope you all found this video valuable today, and if you did, please remember to click the like button down below. As always, if you have questions, leave those down below. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.